Cuffs didn't fit him.
You guys recycle.
So Alan Ritchson is back as Reacher for the Series 2 of Reacher on Prime Video's original series. There's 8 episodes. They're about 40 minutes apiece, thereabouts. Not very long episodes. Let's talk about whether this one is as good as the first season. Season 2 begins when veteran military police investigator Jack Reacher receives a coded message that the members of his former US Army unit, the 110th MP Special Investigations Unit, are being mysteriously and brutally murdered one by one. I didn't mind the Tom Cruise Reacher movies, but for me, season 1 personified what the character of Reacher should be.
Looking for payback?
Payback, justice, vengeance.
No nonsense, good kind of hobo. Not really a hobo, but a guy that lives on the street. He has next to nothing except for him and his toothbrush, and he goes where is needed. But the first season was about his brother. You 100% believe that Alan Ritchson, as the character of Reacher, will be able to handle himself amongst a numerous amount of bad guys, mostly because he's the size of a tank, but also he moves quickly and looks like he knows what he's doing. The choreography of season 1 and the fight sequences that we had there within was very much entertaining and worth watching and brutal. You want to take down the guys not for showmanship, but to take them down as quick as possible so that you can move on to the next. That is what we got. And so we didn't have much of a background for our Reacher character. It was more that he was just thrust into a situation. We know he's the good guy by his actions. We get to know a little bit about the nuances of his character through his actions and through the little bit of dialogue that he has. It's very understated, very small amounts of dialogue, but we understand that he is the good guy. And then we had this journey with a sort of character group that's building along the way. And the reason why I'm doing a synopsis sort of catch up for season 1 is because of how different season 2 is. Now for me, I enjoyed season 1 much more than I enjoyed season 2. That's not to say season 2 isn't fun, because it is totally entertaining. And Alan Ritchson as Reacher again nails the character, except for this time they seem to have made his choreography a little bit less stated. He seems to get tired much quicker when he's fighting individual people. It seems to be much harder for him, except when it's written like it's not much harder for him. So there's sequences where he takes out one guy and it's difficult, but where he's taking out 7 guys and it's not that difficult. So the consistency of the character, well, the written character, seems to be a little bit incongruent there. But the other teammates that we get to know, this is why it's very different, because the teammates that we knew in season 1 just kind of built naturally along it, but because we have a pre-existing history here, they have to give us that history of where this team fits in. And so we get flashbacks that are brought in. There's a lot of chunks of each episode that are flashbacks as to what the team went through, to kind of give us an emotional beat for those characters, to make us care for them when they're in peril, when stuff happens to them, or when a few gets taken out, because this whole synopsis is about this team getting taken out. So that kind of storyline was entertaining. But when we get to the MacGuffin story arc, the wider arc, I couldn't care less about that story. It didn't blow me away. It didn't have anything new. The stuff that they were trying to do, the big bad has some big bad weapon and they're gonna stop them as the good guys team, you know, very superficial. When it has an emotional entanglement, that's when the Reacher story works really well. For me, that's season 1 with the brother, that worked really well. Season 2 is meant to be the team, and they're trying to build in relationships with the backgrounds of the characters, giving us a bit more understanding of what Reacher is. But he's always been the solace guy, no nonsense, less is more, we understand who he is through his actions sort of guy. And that's what I was expecting here. When we do get the action, it is good, but I don't think it's as good as season 1 in the choreography. There's a great sequence at the end of episode 8 that they've been building up to, the big kind of climactic moment when they finally reach up that, you know, like the boss level. They've been taking out lower level henchmen, and then they get to the kind of crux where there's a whole bunch of bad guys and they need to take them out. That sequence is great, but for me, a few of the others just felt lackluster for Reacher. The rest of the team seemed to get a little bit of time, but I can't even remember some of the names of those teammates. I know there's relationships with them. I know there's a guitar guy. I know if I went and looked up their names, I would recognize who they are. So the flashbacks built up a sort of emotional background for the team, but didn't really need to spend that much time, or we needed more episodes of Reacher because it felt very quick. It felt like it started and it was done. Maybe that's a testament to the storyline because I was able to binge it very quickly. But saying that, the episodes just felt like they skipped over story that we needed. So when they were giving us flashbacks, I liked that, but it felt like we needed another 2 or 3 or 4 more episodes because it just felt like they needed more. There was less of what I was expecting and more of what I didn't want. So as much as I enjoyed season 2, season 1 for me was much better than the first. Now, Alan Rickman as Reacher, he's still stacked. He still moves quickly when he's written to. The other teammates have their specialist skills, which I like, and some of them bring a levity to that storyline. Some of them bring an emotionality to the character to try and force us to have a certain amount of emotions on Reacher. I've never liked that with story writing. I want my character to develop, especially this one, the way he is. The stoic, strong, big guy through actions that we know what he is and what he does.
Who are you?
Someone who prefers not getting involved.
It seems like the writers took on some of the comments that were made about season 1 and put them into this season. Now, I know some, like Movies and Munchies, will love that they've changed it up for this. But as far as I'm aware, most loved what they did with season 1. Now, it is based on an 11th book by Lee Child. So they're obviously picking and choosing which adventure we get to go on. I really hope that we get to see a Lone Ranger again, maybe picking up a couple of characters here and again.
I'm just gonna break the hands of 3 drunk kids.
There's 4 of us.
One of you's gotta drive to the hospital.
That we've seen in previous seasons, because it works best for me as him investigating something emotional attachment that he finds himself in, and then he has to face insurmountable odds. That for me is when Reacher works really well. And so I'm a little bit disappointed with season 2, but I'm still glad that we got a season 2 and I enjoyed it for what it was. It sounds like I'm coming down hard on it. I'm not. The acting was good. The dialogue for what we get was stunted in some places, but it was fairly good. The way they showcased the action was well filmed. The team is believable as a team after we've got those flashbacks, and the story is very generic, the wider arc story, but you know, that is like a tried and tested formula of the hero or anti-hero storyline. So I saw everything coming. You know exactly what's going to happen. And then when we get to the end, for me, it was a massive anti-climax because I thought we were going to get a big showdown with a couple of characters, especially one that they were building up to be one of the big bads. It just feels like it comes and goes very quickly, and it wasn't what I wanted. So as much as I enjoyed season 1 and I did enjoy season 2, I'm going to give this a 3 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
You got one. Congratulations.
I think I gave the first season 4.5, and the more I think about it, it is much better than season 2. That's just me. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.